Welcome to Saturday's Warrior. We're coming to you live right after the BYU-Utah men's basketball game, Holy War round one of this season. And it was an exciting nail biter of a game. Did not think it should have been, did not think it was going to come down like that. But it was an exciting game nonetheless. Should we really expect anything less from the Holy War? All right, I'm Trevor, and as we jump into this today, if you if you love watching AJ DeBonsa and what he's doing with BYU, if you love this team, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. We do these live reaction videos, also come to you throughout the week with other content, all BYU Big 12 focused. So, all right. And also tonight, hop in the chat. So let's. I don't know if we'll be on super long, but we'll be on as long as people want to get in on the chats and talk about the game, man. So I'll just start off with my. And I didn't do an official prediction video, so it's not on record. But man, I thought coming into this game, I was like, okay, everyone's saying this is the Holy War. You never know what to expect. Weird things can happen. I was like, that's true. Like, no matter how good one team is and how bad the other team is, anything could happen. Having said that, I didn't think that this one was going to be particularly close. I thought BYU was going to pull away, and I thought that it was going to be a comfortable double-digit lead, not necessarily like 20 or a complete blowout, but I thought, 15 plus, and, Utah might make some runs here or there, but BYU would ultimately be pretty comfortable throughout the game. That obviously was not the case. It looked like there for a while in the second half that the team was starting to get rolling and things were slipping away from Utah. However, they somehow found a way to grind it and get back into the game and make that much closer, much more uncomfortable than I think most of us were expecting, or at least hoping for from this matchup. All right, we got a blind man in the comments saying, when it comes to beating Utah, any score will do. Always hard to win on the road in college. It's true. That is the case. And especially with rivalry games, you just would like to think that BYU would be, that this rendition of this BYU team would be, and this version of the Utah team just would be able to kind of overcome that at some point the talent, yes, there's a rivalry, it makes things weird, but at some point the talent gap would be just too wide to allow Utah to hang in there the way they did, and they did. So you got to give credit to Utah, because I don't think watching BYU that it wasn't like there were so many mistakes or there were big errors or a lot of specific moments you can point to just saying, oh man, BYU, they just really weren't coming together there. Like, they were having a pretty good game. It's just Utah was matching. And so it does worry me a little bit about BYU's defense and ability to, shut some teams down. So I come out of this with a little bit of some concerns, but ultimately, I mean, like you said, it's a win over Utah. It's at Utah. You could tell Richie wanted this, and so let's go into that. Let's talk about the players, because Richie had not won in Salt Lake against Utah in his career, and did not want to leave BYU without having done that. And you could tell he wanted that. It's funny because there at the end, the commentators were talking about Richie and his hustle plays, and it's just like, eventually they acknowledge, like, well, if you haven't been watching the tape, then if you didn't know that about Richie, that's what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, what are you talking about? This is like what made Richie, is that everyone loved him because of his hustle. He was the hustle guy. He was the glue guy. And then he became the guy, and he continues to play that way. And he really did tonight, man. They were talking about his offensive rebounds. Yeah, huge. And I love that. That is Richie to a T. But he's under the basket, really no business scoring, well defended, and he just fakes, holds on the ball, fakes some more, and he can finish with either hand, goes up, and just did that time and again. And you could tell that he really wanted this game, and he was not going to let BYU lose it. And obviously the other two had great games as well. Rob Wright, man, I couldn't believe that kept checking the box score at the first half, and Rob Wright was in he sorry he had a very, I would say, quiet 17 points. I think he was sitting on for a while there, and it was hard to believe that he was leading scorer because I thought of a lot of plays with AJ and Richie, but he just continues to do his thing and just he really wasn't forcing it, and he was playing within the game, which is why I think it didn't really stand out the same way. And here I'm trying to look at this, and he ended with 23, so it looked like maybe it was a little bit more quiet in the second half, but still doing his thing. I mean, he was very involved with that offense and keeping them running and ironed out. And AJ, I thought, and we did have some plays in the first half from AJ, but there was a moment there where he just went and came down, tore down the rebound, and then that led to a couple sequences of him and some monster plays there from the first half. I thought he was just going to go on a complete tear and take over the game from that moment on. I was like, great, let's not wait till the second half. Didn't exactly happen. Started getting slowed down a little, but he did ultimately have just a tremendous game. Another 20-pointer game. I'm trying to see throughout. I mean, he's playing defense too. He's got a steal, a block. So continuing to do AJ things. Free throw, I mean, 8 of 12. For a guy that can just get to the line as often as he does, you'd like him to do better than that. He's got to hit more than that. And 0 for 3 from 3, not great. But again, you're not relying on AJ to do that. It's really his mid-range, and he continues to just be elite at that. And man, Keita, the second half of the game, he just came alive. Obviously, a couple early fouls is going to limit your ability to play out there. I love that he picks up that third foul at the beginning of the second half, and he just shoos his coach away. Like, I'm not coming out. And he just went on to have some more monster plays right there. And it just came alive, and just his defense, they talked about the spiking the ball, and what really stood out to me though is his touch has gotten so soft around the rim, and there's similar plays of what we've seen him make, last year, and the way he would be down low and he'd get there, but it felt like he would force him a little bit, and they'd kind of come off the back of the iron or whatever, and it's like could do it all but finish. I know he ended the season with a really high field goal percentage, but it felt like a lot of those games where he tried to get those floaters and things in, he kind of struggled. But tonight he just had that touch, and I was just really, really impressed in that he played with that determination. I think he also, like Richie and Keita, knowing this rivalry, I'd say on a different level than even Richie, even though Richie grew up around it and completely understands it, been involved with it in the last 4 years. Keita's played on both sides of it, and so it's a different level for him, and you could tell that he wanted it as well. And actually, how did he end? I mean, Keita, only 21 minutes, but had 11 points, only 7 boards. I'm surprised on that. And but a couple offensive boards, so that's good. But yeah, obviously not out there nearly as much because of the foul trouble. But that brings me to Ahmed. And I have not been able to watch the last couple of games, some of it because of Peacock, some of it because of scheduling conflicts. I've watched the highlights, but to watch him throughout the game and in there, especially playing significant minutes in the first half, it's what a breath of fresh air to know that Keita, that we have another big that can come in behind Keita that can play like a big, an actual big. And I know Boscovich was doing some of his best efforts. He's had some, that highlight block and everything. And he's a big body, but that's just not his natural position. I think he thrives much better at the power forward, which, quick side note, that pass from Richie and Boscovich comes running in. He catches it high, and he just went through athletic. And I thought as it was happening, I was like, oh no, this is just way too far out from the rim, and this is not going to happen. And he threw it down. So I love that play. really awesome athletic play from him. And again, only 9 minutes. I mean, and then this was one of those games where you didn't really have much luxury to rely on the bench. It was too close for much of the game, but yeah. Going back to Ahmed, just knowing that you've got someone behind Keita, that when there inevitably is going to be foul trouble, that you have another shot blocker in there, another big body to muck things up for the other team and to get rebounds. So I was really impressed with that. Okay, we got Jack Johnson, 99. Jack Johnson in the house says, I feel like Diamande could bring a Trey Stewart-like defensive energy. Any idea why he doesn't play? Would be an upgrade over Russ, in my opinion. That is a great question. One that I've asked myself, because the little bit we've seen of him, well, it's been a mixed bag, but there have been some moments where we've seen flashes of his potential, his athleticism, his defense. You know that he has a three-pointer. I don't think we've seen much of it this season, but it's a guy that I would like to see get more minutes as well. I didn't know it at the time, but I was at MSG and snuck into the lower bowl and sat down, and I found out after the fact that I'd been sitting a couple seats down from his American adopted family, and I didn't talk to him, but yeah, I wish I had, because I would tell him, like, this guy, I want to see him play, because he's somebody I'm really excited about. And this just goes back to my confusion. Again, this is probably not the game for it, but my confusion with the rotations, especially when during blowouts and you're still getting your starters major minutes. And I know that, they're trying to get their stats. I know that they're trying to build chemistry still, but I feel like you got to build out that bench, because if they're one of those big three gets injured or gets in foul trouble or anything, and you got to start relying on those other guys on the bench to come play significant minutes, that's not going to be there. And so, plus you don't want to risk injury or anything. So Diamande is one of those guys I'd like to see get a few more minutes. Russ, he's there. I think a little bit for size. Mostly he's there to shoot threes. And obviously they feel if he's out there, they feel like he gives them the best shot at that. But Diamande, I think, bringing the defense as well, being a real 3-and-D guy. I agree with you. I'd love to see him out there and do that. And we'll see. He, at KY, that is, he hasn't had to go as deep with the bench this year like he did last year. He hasn't had to experiment with the lineups as much as he did last year. And so maybe that's why we haven't seen as much of that. But I would like to, especially in games of like blowouts against Arizona State, I would like to see him play with that a little bit more, get these guys some confidence, because it feels like they go out there and there's a mess up, or they don't, something happens and they get a short leash and they get pulled. I was like, you can't, you got to let them go out there. You got to let them make a few mistakes, and then they get out there and then they can get in the flow. And I think back to, what's his face? Kosic. Before he was injured, that he had that game. Who was it against? But it was one of those bye games, and he just went off. Was it 6 threes maybe? And you could tell they'd finally given him enough minutes to get out there, kind of get the bad shots out, get the rust out of the way, get in the flow, and he was just hitting shots. And I want to see these other guys get that kind of shot as well. So to answer your question, I have no idea, but I have the same question. I'd love to see him get some more minutes. All right. Richard Carlson says, I love Saturday's War. Thank you. Thanks, Trevor, for giving us a great insight and great conversation. Thanks to Adam, too. Yeah, sorry, I'm running solo here tonight. I think Adam was he's turning in a little bit early. He's got earlier Sunday mornings than I do. The big three might be talented enough to get us a Final Four bid. So I was thinking about this during the game. I'm glad you brought this up. And thank you again for the kind words. So yes, this team does have the talent, and I definitely feel better, as I said, with Ahmed. That does make me feel like, okay, we can weather the storm when, there's foul trouble, whatever. We've got another a true big out there. I feel good about that. And now my confidence is increasing. Yes, these guys are good enough to get us to the Final Four. Absolutely. Um, if March Madness were to start today, I would say yes, we have a shot to get there, but we're not really where I would like to see this team yet, and I wouldn't feel as confident about them making the Final Four as I think we will at the end of the season. I think this team still has some growing. I think KY is still experimenting with things and trying to figure out who he can really rely on. I would just like to see him give those guys, as I was just saying, like to see him give those guys the chance so we can find out who those other guys are, so we can find out who the Trey Stewart and the Boscovich are of this year's team. I mean, they weren't always getting lots of minutes. Sometimes it was like 9 minutes a game, but they would come in and give you that little spark off the bench. And we need someone like that. And it seems like the coaching staff feels like they haven't found them yet. And they're just relying really heavily on the big three because they're that good and they're doing it. But these slow starts are a big worry of mine. And then, I mean, free throws, we've had games that have been better, but this is, let's see, 66% as a team. Not great, especially when you got guys that can just get to the line all the time. Not great. You got to make teams pay. And I feel like you make some more of those. Obviously, it's a different game there at the end, and maybe you're able to pull away. But, so the tournament's long, and to rely on three guys the whole way without anything going wrong worries me. And so I think this is a Final Four caliber team. The problem is we have more than 4 Final Four caliber teams exist in college basketball right now. And so there's no guarantee. And I don't know. I want to see this team take it to the next level. Having said that, this team is going to be tested a lot through this Big 12 play, and they're going to be forced to really gel and come together on another level. And I think we will see that. I know that there's a plan, and they're going and they're building. We saw that last year, and they peaked at the right time. And so I'd be maybe worried if I thought this team were peaking right now. I think they're still growing, and there's still room for them to hit that peak. And if they hit that at the right time, then great. So I'm not trying to pull any alarms or worry like I think this team's terrible, they're going to fail. Nothing like that. I just, as of today, as of this moment, it's not the team I want to see when we go into March Madness. Like when the tournament starts, I hope that this team is in an even better place. And I think they will be, because Kevin Young is that good of a coach, and his coaching staff. These players are that good, and we're going to have a lot of experience against a lot of very good teams going through this Big 12 play. So anyway, that's just my thought. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that, and this team kind of continue to level up and take that next step. All right, we got PBK McBain saying Rob Wright was clutch on those last couple of minutes. Those missed free throws were killing me tonight. Hope we get the win next week. Going to be a new record for consecutive wins at BYU. Yeah, Rob Wright, he really was. Again, it felt like a quiet night for him, but he was just in control, and he played really, really well, and he's just so smooth. And with the ball in his hands, I mean, he's such a good point guard, and he's exactly what this team needed, which is funny because I love Yegor Doman and love watching him in the NBA, and part of me wanted to see him come back. And I wonder what this team would look like with him. But I do think that Rob Wright is probably a better fit along for this version of the team, especially with D Bonsa in there. Even though, Yegor has clearly shown that he is an NBA caliber guy, I really love Rob Wright and what he brings to the team. But yeah, free throws, I was just talking about that. And yeah, and then you talk about Utah. What do you think about Utah? I got to pull up the schedule, but BYU and Utah playing twice so early in Big 12 play. I would have liked to seen that staggered. I'm not saying it's got to be the final game of the season, because, they're wanting to get bigger matchups at the end. They knew Utah probably wasn't going to be real good, but just to be, just 10 days apart, And then, I would have mixed it up somewhere a little bit later. And I know it's a big conference, a lot of teams and a lot of things you got to take into account when doing the scheduling. But it just seems weird to have both Holy War games so close together. And I don't know. I'm coming around to BYU-Utah playing in football, not on the last weekend, mostly because it allows both teams to still have a lot to be playing for, whereas by that last weekend, maybe some team hasn't. Whereas if you're playing earlier, I see the value in that. But with this one, basketball, I don't know. And again, maybe they're just looking at this saying, hey, Utah is not going to be overly competitive this year, although we saw what just happened. So don't want to overlook anybody. But anyway, I don't know. It's just weird to be thinking about playing them again in 10 days already with only one game in between. But it's all right. It's a good tune-up, I guess, as we continue to ramp up, because then the Big 12 schedule gets a lot more difficult as we push on here. So, all right, I'm going to move over and get there were a few tweets that I saw, if I can find them, that I bookmarked throughout here, but throughout the game. But this is there's just some of this is too much for me. The Muss student section, Utah, they've got their sign up backwards, and I love it. From the Rockets, to be fair, it's the first game they've been to all season, which is hilarious because it's true. Another thing, we got Morgan Scally here talking to the crowd, and he gets overtaken by "Let's Go Cougar" chants at Utah in their own stadium. Hilarious. And then talking about the Muss, they did it again at the half. They put the sign back up, still backwards. Hilarious. I really don't know how you get it wrong once, okay, but I don't know how you let that happen the second time as you're doing it. But again, to their point, they don't have a lot of practice doing this, so I guess you got to cut them some slack. But just really rookie level stuff there. Love this dunk right here. I mean, Keita, I was talking about him earlier, unreal. And then I love this from Jackson Payne. It says Utah fans are chanting overrated, which you could hear at home on TV. It says after every AJ Dubonsa make, which begs the question, why would you chant that after a make? So again, getting signs backwards, chants not making sense. It's basketball's not their strong suit. These fans aren't used to it, don't have a lot of experience with that. So I guess you cut them some slack. But yeah, it's unreal. But I also love in this picture down here all the blue that you can see throughout, and you could hear it too. I mean, Utah was definitely louder, I think, throughout, and it was a home game, which they should be throughout most of the game. But whenever BYU had a big play or whatever, there was something for BYU to really cheer about. Man, the BYU cheers were louder than anything I think we heard from the Utah fans all night. So that was really awesome. And then I like this from Colton Fairborn. He says, if I played college basketball for Utah, I'd be pretty pissed that my fans all of a sudden remembered I exist because BYU came to town. So that's true. Like, the only reason why your fans are here to cheer you on is because of BYU. So I don't want to get flagged. If I play this video, mine will get flagged, but I did just want to pause right here and just, man, Keita's athleticism, he's just unreal. I know he was in a little bit more limited minutes tonight, but what he gave us and he gives us so many good plays and so much fun to watch. But again, I think some of his plays that were the most impressive to me were the ones with just kind of the soft touch around the rim, which I really love to see from our big man. All right. Richard Carlson says, who do you think on the bench needs to step up? And here he's thinking Mihailo. Yeah, well, you would think so, right? Because he is another big body. Again, they're not expecting him to be a big defensive presence, especially now that you have Ahmed. But he is a guy that did it last year. He's someone who came in and brought that spark. he's just been inconsistent. He's kind of hot or cold. This is a bad comparison, but I think of someone like a J.R. Smith who, when he's hot, when he's rolling, it's great. But then there's a lot of like head scratching moments, and he sometimes he's just missing shots, but sometimes he also is just you know makes mistakes out there, and but they continue to give him more minutes than a lot of these other guys on the bench. Again, 9 tonight, so that's kind of what we were seeing from him last year. And not a lot in the stats, but that doesn't mean that he's not doing his job, because the other three, those big three, have such high usage. It's hard to tell how much of that is he not doing his part, or is it because he doesn't need to. Like, his part is being there, making teams respect him, and creating that space so the other three can cook, especially right there in that mid-range. What's also crazy is this is a little bit off, a little bit of a tangent here, but excuse me. It's almost 1 a.m. my time, and I'm just, my mind's wandering here as I think basketball. But and while I say that, I lost my train of thought. But I don't know. I'll come back to it. Like I said, it's late, so I wish we had Trey Parker. It would be nice. I'm trying to think though. Who do I think should? I mean, you said Mikhailo. Yeah, you would expect him to step up. I mean, there's several guys. They brought in a lot of these guys to do that. Tyler Mruss, I just want to see him hit some shots, but that means he's got to be open and ready to take them. And when he gets them, he's got to hit them. So he took one shot tonight. Sorry, wait. Oh, that was minutes. Sorry, I thought that was points. I was like, how do you come? Okay, sorry. One shot tonight, so 1-3, and he missed it. And it's hard, when you only get one off, but that's about all you're going to get, and you got to hit those. And Diamande is another one, because I think he brings you that defensive aspect. He also brings that athleticism. So you're not needing him to do more, but like Moo Davis tonight, he brought you a few plays, like a couple clutch threes, another move, where he was able to score and do something on his own. You don't need him to do that, but he's capable of doing that. And I think that's kind of a role that Diamande can fill. Let's see. I wish we. Oh, sorry. Yeah, same. Oh, Trey Stewart. Yes, Trey Stewart is a great glue guy, and well, here's the thing. He was a glue guy on the bench, but then he also came out and he was a little bit spotty from three, but his defense was great and brought and helped spark this team. And I don't know if we have anyone like that on the bench. I guess Diamande would be I don't know what he is in terms of personality wise. I think you get what Trey brought through a few different guys, and that's part of what made Trey really special. And plus he was there for his entire career, riding the bench, and then you see it pay off his senior year, and he's able to come out and get not significant minutes, but play a significant role for the team. So anyway, so we'll just continue to watch and see what happens with this bench as it develops, as the season develops, and see who kind of comes out and is able to make an imprint on this team. I just don't know. I guess the other thing is you may end up needing a ball handler, because right now it's so heavy, which is all right with Rob Wright doing it because he's so good. But at some point he's going to need a breather. And yeah, you've got Richie and you've got AJ who bring up the ball a little, but you'd really want another true ball handler. And especially when their usage is so high, you'd like them to be able to get a little bit of a rest there and not have to bring up the ball too. So I don't know. We will see what happens. But yeah, this was a great game. It's a fun game. It's always fun to beat Utah. I'm glad Richie was able to get another milestone, in his career with BYU. He really will end as an all-timer with BYU. I'm so glad he stayed. And I think he is too. He's probably looking at Kentucky thinking, man, it's a little bit of a mess there. I think Mark Pope needs to be given a little bit of grace. I know it's a fan base that has high expectations and probably won't. And things might not go so well for him. But that's beside the point. Richie stayed, and it's paying off. He saw the vision, and now unless something goes really wrong, he will be in the NBA. And so very awesome for a guy who is kind of a glue guy on college team, and he's a little bit older, serving a mission, staying 4 years, and to be able to then end up in the league and be able to go professional, which is his dream, is just really, really awesome. So, all right, PBK says, good night, everyone. Midnight my time. Go Cougs. Hey, you're smarter than I am. I need to do that too. So appreciate it. And appreciate everyone for watching. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll be back to you next week. We got some good things coming. And so, got one more here. Jack Jackson. I called you Johnson earlier. It would be nice to have Dallin Hall right now. Yes, it would. And I always check his stats, and he's been kind of inconsistent. Actually, it's been kind of the same thing. I love Dallin, and I love what he brought. I think he fit the culture, and he was he was more than a glue guy, but he was a glue guy in the sense that, and a leader on the team. And really, you felt confident with him, especially as a backup. Like, he's good enough to start, and I'm glad that he's getting his opportunity. Like, that's what he was looking for. I don't know if he was looking for something different when he decided to stay at BYU, but he stayed. They brought in Yegor, and I'm guessing he thought he'd get a little bit more time. I thought he got a fair amount of time. He got pretty good minutes and a lot of action, but he really wanted to start. Found a situation that works for him. Good for him. UVA's doing well. But his stats, I look some nights and he's done really well, and other nights where he's a little bit quieter. That doesn't mean he's not having an impact on the game. He is. And so, yeah, I'm happy for him. This team would definitely be better with him right now, but I don't blame him at all. So, wish him well. And I'm in Virginia. Have not gone to go see him yet, but perhaps I'll have the chance. But anyway, yeah, this team definitely could use his skills right now and have another ball handler. But now seeing how this team is going, Dallin wasn't happy with his role last year. He certainly wouldn't this year, because the ball there's just not enough ball to go around. He really would be has probably fewer minutes and just a lot less usage. And so probably just not the best. You only get so much time in college, and you got to do what you can while you're here to make as much as you can, and also set yourself up for a future career. So don't blame him. He'd been probably underutilized here. And so wish he were here, but he's not. And I think he's in a better situation for himself. So anyway, like I said, I was about to sign off here. It is now, officially 1 a.m. my time. So appreciate everyone joining me, listening to us late night rants after these this way too competitive of a Holy War game, but it was a fun game. And I do want to say, at no point did I really believe that BYU was going to lose. I did get a little nervous, a little uncomfortable, but I was like, BYU's just not going to lose this game. And ultimately they did not. So really happy with it and the outcome. So anyway, we'll be doing this again, I suppose, in about 10 days. And we'll get to talk about hopefully another Holy War victory. So please like and subscribe and catch us back for that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Go Cougs.